I would like to welcome you to a more practical and hands-on video today. It's been some time I haven't done one of these and I'm looking forward to it. And today I'm going to try to give some of you some insight into AI and into concrete use cases for the most current, most popular AI tools. And I've picked Cursor as my very first attempt at kind of showing some of you out there who are not technical, who haven't had any exposure to this at all, and potentially don't even know what's currently happening in this space, just to give you a direct taste of why people are so hyped up. And I'm not talking about AI conversations around what's going to happen in 12 months, in 36 months. I'm talking about what's currently going on right now. How are people using AI on a daily basis to try to change their lives? And today is going to be one of those sessions. If you are familiar with Cursor, this is not going to be a very helpful video because you're probably already deep into it. For anyone who has maybe heard about it, never touched it, was scared of it, I totally understand. And I'm going to try to just give you a first possibility to get back into contact with it or just see it for the first time. So now enough of the talking. I haven't actually prepared a particular scripted use case to show you, so I'm just going to pick one issue that I'm currently having, and to be honest, I don't think I'm going to be able to solve it because I haven't done enough research on the technology, but I'm going to try to just use it as an example to show you the tooling around me struggling to learn about the problem, and then maybe if we have some luck, I might be able to solve some of it. So this is not going to be a quick video. So if you enjoy this kind of stuff, welcome. Otherwise, I will see you in another video. All right, guys, let's dive right in. So once again, we're talking about Cursor, and I have just installed a fresh version of it off their website. I will link to their website in the description later on if you're watching this on YouTube. Otherwise, you will have to Google it. And it's fairly straightforward to install it. It's fairly straightforward to get an account should you want to try to play with it. They do have a trial option that is fairly generous to just learn how it works and possibly get hooked on it. And one more comment on that. There are other providers of similar tools, and most of you have probably heard about Claude and their product lines, and they're somewhat similar. So you may have noticed at the top of the screen, I do have a widget that reminds you of the voice access widget from Windows. And yes, this is exactly what it is. Windows does come with voice input. And I've never actually used it before until about 2 years ago. I had to have an ability to steer what I'm doing inside my machine using voice, because typing is a very inefficient way of communicating. And until we have some kind of neural link, we will have to probably speak to AI. And if you want to speak to your AI, and if you are on Windows, this is probably the easiest way to get started. You can retrieve it directly from your start menu. It's a quick installation, and then whenever you want to speak to your machine, you would have to just click this button, or you keep it clicked. As you can see now, it's listening and it's repeating what I'm saying. It's not extremely efficient at it, but it's more than good enough. So this is trick number one. If you're on Windows, you need to have an ability to speak to your computer. Now, should there be a lot of interest in this type of information, I'll gladly share more on that. But for now, I'm just going to keep it short. So I'm going to briefly switch it off, and let's quickly have a look at Cursor. This is now installed on my machine. And the way this works is that when you're working on a project, that project lives usually inside a folder. So this is for the very first time when I'm going to try to open a folder directly on my desktop. And I'm just going to take this portable folder. This is a tiny little folder with a couple of files I've transported over from a different desktop. And I want to see if we can work with it just for the sake of this demonstration. I have no idea how this is going to develop. And the point here is really to show you the mechanics of working with computers in 2026 rather than achieving a result. Just to manage your expectation here. So as you can see on the first sight, this whole thing might look a little bit scary. Let me expand this window. And it looks very much like a development environment, and actually it is, but you can completely repurpose it and not touch any code at all. And that's what most people are doing right now. And we already have a term for that. People call it vibe coding. It's a weird term, but that's what people came up with, and it's becoming mainstream. Vibe coding basically means you interact with your machine and you generate code, you build software without actually touching much of the code ever. And that opened up a lot of opportunities and a lot of imagination within people. And this is what's currently driving the hype. Cursor, along with the other AI companies, is one of the fastest growing companies in the world right now. And I'm going to show you why. So as you can see on the left, we are currently inside my folder, and you see some of the files inside that folder. And here we have the box where we can interact with our agent. And earlier when they started, they didn't have an agent here. They just had an ability to chat with your files basically. But this was mostly a chat and it couldn't take action. But then they introduced this agent mode. And this is what really changed everything, because at that point you didn't have to know how to code. You could get a lot of help. And by a lot, I mean like 99.9% of the coding will be done by the agent. And on the right side here, you have the ability to create new agents. So for now, we are already in a new agent, so it doesn't want to launch a new one. So let's give it a go. And I'm going to activate the microphone here. So I hope this will come across well on the video, but that's crucial to know. Watch the overall interaction between me and my computer now. I have this file portable on my desktop. It seems to be an application that is supposed to launch a tool that I've built earlier. I'm not a developer, and I'm not sure how to evaluate if we can actually work on this little software. Can you analyze it and give me a brief overview? As you can see, what I've said is inside that box. That means I didn't have to type it up. Very often it's a bit messy, but AI is really good at managing around that, understanding context. So now I'm going to submit it to the agent and let's see what happens. One important thing to understand, we can use all sorts of models here and they become exponentially smarter. I'm using the free version right now and the responses are going to be a little bit less exciting, but for the most part, it's still extremely powerful. So I've just submitted and I'm immediately getting a response. As you can see, it's exploring the folder. Let's see what it's going to come up with. Once again, I've never done this before. I haven't even worked with this type of applications inside that folder there. So it's the first time for me today. So you're seeing it develop live. Let's have a look what it's saying. So it's quite interesting. It's going quite deep and I'm noticing that it has integrated many more things than I initially wanted, but it's clearly understanding the context. It has looked through the whole folder. It's explaining to me how I can launch it locally. So as you can see, it has a full understanding of what's going on and it's proposing immediately on how we can start working with it. The thing is, now that we are recording the video, I do not want to spend so much time actually getting into the advice. What I'm interested in is to see if we can demonstrate the workflows that we are likely going to see more and more on a daily basis also inside businesses. You have to understand that this type of agent can pretty much plug into any repository. We can connect it to GitHub where you store your software. We can download it, we can work on it, we can commit and push it. You can pretty much interact with any part of your project through this type of interface. And I think we are going to see a lot more of this type of interaction. Now I'm a bit curious, should we do another prompt just to see? Yeah, let's do that. Let me activate the mic again. Usually you keep the mic on throughout the whole day, but now that I have to record with the microphone for you to hear me, I have to switch it on and off, not to create a mess. So what I'm interested in is to create a podcast visualizer that will show the vibrations of my voice on video. But I would still like to use my OBS screen recording software to show my screen so people can actually see what I'm doing on the screen. Now, I'm having some difficulties combining these two, and I think the way that I've envisioned the tool initially is actually not really a suitable solution. Because even though I've integrated a transparency feature, I think it's conceptually wrong because it lives inside the browser and it cannot show me what's behind the browser. So I think conceptually it's completely wrong. We need to have another solution. Do you have any recommendation how we can potentially repurpose what we already have, or potentially rebuild this from scratch so it's actually more suitable for this use case? Let's see how it's going to deal with that. And remember, should we use a more powerful model, the response will be completely different and potentially it could immediately jump into action. Right now, I'm going to switch from agent to plan. This is a fairly new feature, but it allows it to spend some more time making a plan or kind of build out these steps, especially if you're working with a model that is not as powerful or is not a thinking model. This step can be really important if you want to save costs. But before we do that, I think it would be wise just to show you the ask functionality. The ask functionality is just helping you to prevent it from jumping into coding and doing stuff proactively. And it just allows you to force context building around your question. So let's go with that first. Oh, now I'm noticing that I actually have added a lot of content here because I didn't switch off the mic. So let me deal with that real quick. Okay, where did we? That's extremely annoying because this is still on. Let me see. Yes, we can go back. And now let me delete that last part here. Okay, I'm sorry about this, but this is the daily bread when you're working with these type of tools. So let's see, it's gonna think through the problem. And it's going to be probably fairly detailed. When you're working with a very powerful model, that would be almost like a constraint for it. It will really struggle because it will want to go left and right, but it has this hard constraint of not being able to take action. So it really goes all out into the response, and it can be multiple pages sometimes. Now, for this automatic model, this is exactly what you need to do if you want to save tokens, and you can spend hundreds of dollars on API costs if you really want to go all out, and you can spend thousands of dollars easily if you're building anything serious. So don't underestimate this ability to work for free just with the subscription, because you quickly will run out of credits for the more advanced models, and you will have to spend a lot of time working with the automatic version, which has a very, very generous setup. So it's almost free, but you need to be very skilled at getting the most out of it, especially using these extra modes such as ask and plan. So as you can see, it's now taking me down a rabbit hole of trying to suggest possible solutions. I will have to probably stop recording, read through them, ask for clarifications, and eventually I will actually go into the planning mode, and I'm going to make a plan, and then I'm going to execute on the plan. Once again, the core idea is to show you how the interaction works right now. This is one of the reasons why you're seeing so many people being extremely productive with content, being extremely productive with building applications and software. And I've spent a significant number of months trying out all sorts of ideas that I've had for many years before, and now it's actually possible to execute on these ideas. As soon as you interconnect some of these tools, this type of agent can really be the glue between all of the skill gaps and the bottlenecks you've had before. Now, I'll be honest with you. If you go down this rabbit hole, life is not going to get easier. You will face the next bottleneck that you haven't had reached before. So it's definitely an eye-opening experience. It's breaking down barriers, and you can move to the next level, that is for sure. But you will encounter an avalanche of ideas, an avalanche of people trying to build the same ideas as you are real time. And it hasn't made life easier in that sense. But if you want to realize small ideas, building small helping tools for your work, if you want to connect something like this to an advertising platform, to databases, that's exactly what it's for, and that's what it's good at. And there is many products now coming onto the marketplace that will allow to do that. And I'm sure we are not very far away from an enterprise version of this that is a little bit more constrained potentially. And this is exactly what people are excited about when they speak about the OpenClaw bot. You may have seen and heard about it on X.com or on LinkedIn. This was and is still a huge hype topic right now. This is pretty much an agent like this that lives on your server and has a lot more access to your files, your personal things, depending on what you allow. But it has a lot more direct access than this type of bot. And this type of bot, you can give it a lot of access to. It can log in into your hosting account, into your VPS. It can establish direct connections to GitHub. It can interact with all of those flawlessly. All right, I hope this was interesting to see. Should you enjoy this type of content, do let me know. I may do another video on another tool that is currently enjoying a lot of attention. If this was a bit too much for you, I totally understand. It's a crazy time we live through right now. It's if you're a geek, if you enjoy technology, it's a beautiful time because you can get to try a lot of the things where earlier it would have been a major psychological and mental investment, and now a lot of it is possible. So for us, it's beautiful, and I think it opened up a world for many people who had a tendency to enjoy these things but didn't actually have the skills. And I include myself partially into that group, and for me it opened up the world. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of the day, and I see you in the next video. Hey, I've just recorded a video. It consists out of 3 segments, and I'd like to stitch them together now. And I'm also looking for an opportunity to remove some of the gaps inside my speech and some of the interruptions we've had. Can you please find a Python script that would be suitable for this? And let's make sure the videos are easy to listen to. It doesn't have to be a Python script. This was just an idea. If there are any ready-made scripts that we can reuse that are free, let's use those. What do you propose? Yeah, I'm just gonna let it do and see what happens. It loves creating documentation.